well. Prince Louis vision has emerged of him absolutely.
Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis just exposed something shocking about their step-grandmother, Queen Camilla, and the royal family won't be able to hide it for long. At a grand Christmas event in Westminster Abbey, an unexpected moment left everyone stunned. Louis, always full of energy, made a remark that instantly shifted the mood, while Charlotte's reaction only made things worse. What exactly did they say that has sent whispers through the palace hall? Let us dive into the truth that forced half the royal family to flee the country under the shadows. A royal holiday took an unexpected turn. The event itself was meant to be all about unity and warmth, with guests encouraged to write messages of gratitude on a kindness tree. A simple idea, right? But things took a turn when Louis proudly shared his note thanking his grandparents for always playing games with him. Someone asked why Camilla wasn't on the list. Without hesitation, he casually revealed that she had promised to play but ended up calling him annoying and telling him to leave. And just like that, the room fell into stunned silence. Kate's usual composed expression tightened, William's face grew serious, and even the queen consort, normally so careful, looked caught off guard. Before we dive into this, it's clear that Louis's words were just the first crack in a much bigger royal scandal. And what Charlotte did next will leave everyone speechless. This wasn't just an awkward slip of the tongue. It was a moment that confirmed what many had suspected for years, that the relationship between her and the young Wales children has always been a bit off. Unlike their warm bond with the Middletons, the way they interact with Camilla has always seemed distant, stiff, almost like there's an invisible barrier between them. While King Charles has embraced his role as a grandfather, spending time gardening and storytelling, his wife has kept things much more formal. This Christmas moment was just the latest sign that behind the scenes, not everything is as harmonious as the royal PR team wants people to believe. The cracks in this relationship have been visible before, but moments like this make them impossible to ignore. Last Easter, while the Wales children enjoyed time with Charles at Windsor Castle, his wife stayed with her own family in another part of the estate. During Trooping the Colour, observers couldn't help but notice the clear distance between her and the younger royals. And now, this Christmas, with Louis's unexpected comment, it became clearer than ever that there's an emotional gap between them that isn't being addressed. If she is supposed to be the loving step-grandmother figure, why does it seem like the children barely spend any time with her? Charlotte, always protective of her little brother, seemed especially aware of the tension. She's often seen guiding Louis through royal events, subtly stepping in when he looks overwhelmed. She did it during the Platinum Jubilee, she did it at the Queen's funeral, and now, yet again, she was right there watching over him as this uncomfortable moment played out. Her instinct to shield him from the fallout was evident, but even she couldn't fully deflect the awkwardness that settled over the event. The contrast was impossible to miss. While the Wales children radiate warmth and playfulness with their maternal grandparents, their interactions with the Queen consort remain distant, formal, and at times, completely absent. The British royal family is always under the public eye, but lately, the real intrigue isn't about the king or queen, it's about the next generation. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis aren't just growing up, they're making waves in ways no one saw coming. Forget the carefully posed pictures. These kids are showing their personalities, and it's making people wonder what the future of the monarchy will really look like. First, there's George, the quiet but steady leader. He's not flashy, and he doesn't try to steal the spotlight, but watch closely and you'll see how he carries himself. He's already picking up the weight of responsibility, something that can't be easy for a child constantly under watch. Then there's Charlotte, a force to be reckoned with. Confident and sharp, she knows how to take charge, stepping in when needed and making sure her brothers stay in line. And let's not forget Louis, the wild card. From his animated facial expressions to his unpredictable outbursts, he's the one who reminds the world that royal or not, kids will be kids. But this is where things get tricky. Being young royals doesn't just mean wearing fancy clothes and waving from balconies. Their lives are carefully managed, every step watched, and dissected by the world. Their parents, William and Kate, are doing their best to give them something close to normal. But is that even possible? Moving to Adelaide Cottage wasn't just about location. It was about giving their children some distance from the madness that comes with royalty. Louis's words had already changed the mood, but Charlotte's quiet reaction showed this was more than just an awkward moment, a family bond that feels broken. Yet, the balancing act never stops. The kids attend Lambert School, where they get to enjoy sports, arts, and regular childhood activities. But no matter how much normalcy their parents try to create, there's no escaping the royal burden. Their home life, full of Saturday pancake breakfasts and outdoor adventures, is an attempt to give them a sense of stability. But behind all of it, there's the weight of expectation. Then there's the other side of the family, the one that's a little more complicated. While George, Charlotte, and Louis have a warm, easy bond with their Middleton grandparents, their relationship with the Queen Consort is another story. It's not exactly cold, but it's clear there's a difference. She has worked for years to find her place in the royal family, but the shadow of Princess Diana is impossible to ignore. For William, Diana's influence is everywhere, shaping how he raises his children and how he sees his stepmother. Respect and politeness? Absolutely. A close family bond? Not so much. The tension became painfully clear at Westminster Abbey, where an awkward moment set the internet buzzing. Camilla's attempt to connect with the children was met with hesitation. Just another reminder that some relationships in this family don't come naturally. It's a delicate situation, one that reflects the broader struggles within the royal family itself. Blending the old and the new, navigating the past while shaping the future, it's never simple. And yet, despite all the challenges, these young royals are carving out their own identities. George is stepping into leadership. Charlotte is proving she's more than just a supporting act. And Louis? Well, he's bringing a much-needed dose of unpredictability. They aren't just symbols of tradition. They're individuals, and that's what makes them fascinating to watch. Camilla's place in the royal family has always been a complicated one, and when it comes to William and Kate's children, that awkwardness is impossible to ignore. They may be polite in public, but there's a distance that never seems to fade. One small but telling detail? The nickname they reportedly use for her, Gaga. At first glance, it sounds affectionate. But dig a little deeper, and it feels like a subtle way to keep her at arm's length. While Charles openly shares warmth with his grandchildren, her presence is careful, calculated, and always just a little too distant. These interactions, or lack thereof, are even more noticeable during major public events. Take Trooping the Color, for instance. While George, Charlotte, and Louis laughed and played with their parents and grandfather, Camilla remained on the sidelines, almost like an afterthought. It wasn't just a matter of her stepping back to let Charles have his moment. No, this felt different, like she was on the outside looking in. Observers couldn't help but notice the lack of natural, unguarded moments between her and the children, reinforcing the idea that she is still, after all these years, more step-grandmother than actual family. This distance isn't just about personality or preference, it's a lingering shadow from history, a past that can't be erased. William has spent his life honoring Diana's legacy, and that devotion influences everything, especially how he and Kate raise their children. Stories of Granny Diana are woven into their daily lives, keeping her memory alive in ways that make Camilla's presence even more complicated. No matter how much time passes, Diana's influence remains front and center, creating an unspoken barrier between Camilla and the next generation of royals. Relationships are easy to spot for anyone willing to look past the surface. No matter how much they tried to look united, the children's actions made it clear Camilla wasn't a real grandmother to them. A title won't fix this family rift. William and Kate's approach to parenting is refreshingly modern, emphasizing openness and individuality over rigid formality. They allow their children to express themselves in ways that break from traditional royal decorum. That's why Louis's candid remarks and unfiltered reactions stand out. They show a side of royal life that can't be polished away. And when those little moments happen, they highlight what's really going on behind the scenes. The reality is no amount of carefully managed public appearances can hide the fact that Camilla simply isn't as close to the Wales children as Charles might wish she were. For Camilla, Trying to find her place in this dynamic has been an uphill battle. She's worked for decades to be accepted by both the royal family and the public, but true emotional bonds can't be forced. The closeness she shares with her own biological grandchildren only highlights how different her relationship is with George, Charlotte, and Louis. And while time might soften some of these tensions, the history that divides them won't just disappear. Public opinion on Camilla remains divided, and that perception inevitably bleeds into how people see her role within the family. Some admire her resilience, seeing her as a woman who has endured endless criticism and still managed to come out on top. But for others, she will always be linked to the pain of Diana's story, a constant reminder of the heartbreak William and Harry endured. That perception matters, especially when it comes to how the next generation of royals interacts with her. Are George, Charlotte, and Louis keeping their distance out of loyalty to Diana, or is this just the natural growing pains of a complicated blended family? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But either way, the emotional barriers between them are hard to ignore. As the children grow older, their relationship with Camilla will continue to evolve. But the question remains, will they ever truly see her as their grandmother, or will the past always stand in the way? Whatever happens, their dynamic will play a huge role in shaping public perceptions of the monarchy. These children are the future of the royal family, and how they navigate these personal challenges will influence the institution's ability to stay relevant in a changing world. Camilla's struggle to fully integrate into William's family reflects a broader challenge facing the monarchy, balancing tradition with modern expectations. The royal family operates under immense public scrutiny, and every interaction, especially ones that hint at tension, is analyzed from every angle. Blending families is never easy, but in the royal world, where every move is watched, the challenges become even more pronounced. The monarchy has always been a story of duty, love, and resilience, but that doesn't mean personal relationships automatically fall into place. Camilla may have won over Charles, but winning over William's family is a far more complicated battle. No matter how much effort is made to project unity, the emotional undercurrents of the royal family's history can't be ignored. The younger generation is growing up in a world where authenticity matters more than appearances, and their relationships will be judged accordingly. Camilla's path from public villain to queen consort is a testament to her persistence. But when it comes to forming true bonds with William's children, time will tell whether those walls ever come down. William and Kate have been pushing a modern, down-to-earth image. But the real shocker? Their kids, Charlotte and Louis, seem to have no filter when it comes to Queen Camilla. It's not just about little kids saying something cheeky. It's about the fact that, for once, the royal image isn't being micromanaged into a spotless fairy tale. And that, of course, is making some people very uncomfortable. William and Kate wanted their kids to grow up differently, but that also meant less control. The royals can't stop this change. For decades, the royal family followed a strict script. Children were to be seen, not heard. Smiles were rehearsed. Public statements were polished to the point of meaninglessness. But William and Kate decided to scrap that rule book. They want their kids to have a more normal upbringing. Well, as normal as possible when you're a future king or his sibling. Instead of an army of nannies and endless etiquette lessons, Charlotte and Louis are growing up in a household where they are actually encouraged to have opinions. And guess what? They do. Enter Camilla, a name that still stirs up strong opinions. To some, she's the queen consort doing her duty with dignity. To others, she's still the woman who played a major role in one of the most infamous royal love triangles in history. The press can sugarcoat it all they want, but let's not pretend there isn't tension. And now, the youngest royals seem to be picking up on that. Whether it was a passing comment, a look, or something more, their attitude towards Camilla is getting people talking. But here's the thing, shouldn't it? Unlike past generations, who were taught to smile through anything, these kids are growing up in an era where feelings aren't something to be bottled up and buried. William and Kate's hands-on approach means their children are allowed to ask questions, challenge traditions, and, most importantly, speak their minds. That might be a breath of fresh air for some, but for the royal PR team, it's a nightmare. Let's not forget that the monarchy isn't exactly known for handling change well. Every step forward has been met with resistance. Diana's emotional openness? Criticized. Meghan Markle bringing up mental health? Controversial. Now, Charlotte and Louis's unfiltered thoughts are adding another crack to the carefully constructed image. And what happens when those cracks get too big to ignore? The media is already latching onto this. Every glance, every offhand remark is now being analyzed under a microscope. Did Charlotte hesitate before greeting Camilla? Was Louis too quiet around her? These might seem like small things, but in the world of royal watchers, they mean everything. The monarchy thrives on tradition. But when the youngest members start questioning those traditions, where does that leave the institution? William and Kate are trying to strike a balance between royal expectations and modern parenting. But that's easier said than done. They want their children to grow up with a sense of duty, but also as individuals. That means allowing them to form their own opinions, even if those opinions don't fit the carefully managed royal narrative. It's a fine line to walk, and one misstep can send the entire system into a tailspin. Meanwhile, Camilla isn't just dealing with the kids. She has spent decades winning over the public. And just when it seemed like she had finally settled into her role, this happens. The truth is, no matter how many good deeds she does, she will always be tied to a history that people haven't forgotten. And if the next generation isn't buying into the polished version of events, what does that mean for the future of the monarchy? Public perception has always been the monarchy's biggest challenge. The press has built and destroyed royal reputations with ease, and this situation is no different. Right now, the headlines might be about Charlotte and Louis, but the real story is much bigger. It's about a centuries-old institution struggling to stay relevant in a world where blind loyalty is no longer guaranteed. If the younger royals continue to speak their minds, will they reshape the monarchy? Or will the system force them into silence? The stakes are high, and the world is watching. The monarchy has always relied on carefully crafted narratives. But in an age where social media exposes every crack, those narratives are harder to maintain. Charlotte and Louis might just be kids now, but their voices carry weight. And if the monarchy isn't ready to adapt to a world where even royal children aren't afraid to speak up, then what happens next? At the end of the day, this isn't just about Camilla. It's about a changing royal family, a shift in public expectations, and the realization that the old ways might not hold up forever. If the younger generation keeps pushing the boundaries, the monarchy will have to make a choice: cling to the past or embrace a future where even the most sacred traditions aren't immune to scrutiny. Either way, one thing is clear: this story is far from over. Could Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis have revealed a side of Queen Camilla that the palace has desperately tried to keep hidden? Or is this just a harmless misunderstanding blown out of proportion? The royal family has always controlled their image, but could this be the moment their carefully built facade starts to crumble? Tell us what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.